Imagine a world without choices. Imagine you can't make your own decision. That wouldn't be a world for me. That wouldn't be a world for you. UIC.
Tell them we're gonna be stronger. Together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. Gonna be stronger together. Time we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. It is a natural right for every human being to be free. Free, so free. So the government is there to protect you and me. UIC objective is to liberate the citizens from colonial bondage, them regulation, them taxation. Rob Jamaica, we independent. Be stronger together we can make it right. Our purpose is a better Jamaica for you and I. We're gonna be stronger together. Come, we all just unify. Our purpose is a better Jamaica.
Hello, good night, and welcome. Welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. This is Joseph Patterson. Tonight we have a wonderful discussion lined up for you. We're going to have two good gentlemen. I hope they're all going to be here to talk with us about what's happening in Jamaica right now. So good evening. I see Paula Shelley. I see For the Truth on, and I see a number of other persons logging on right now. Thanks again for joining us. Hope you liked the show last night with myself and Shelly and Quran. Quite a bubbly lady with a lot of energy and to bring some excitement to the platform last night. Looking forward to being on our program next. Yes, good night to the Reasoning Corner and Ledigo. Good night, welcome. I'm going to be doing a lot of listening tonight. I want to give a chance to the gentlemen who are coming on. Lloyd and L.A. Lewis. I want to give them a chance to share their thoughts with us about what's happening in Jamaica. The producer called it Jamaica in Crisis. And we have been in crisis for a long time, but I think the fever pitch has risen tremendously over the last couple of years. The budget debates are going on right now, and they're presenting a lot of ideas, a lot of nice sounding words, but we're used to this. We're used to the dog and pony show. We're used to the excitement, but at the end of the day, there are some fundamental things that we all know we need and must have if Jamaica is going to be a solidly well-run, well-managed, well-developed country. And so after all of the fun and games are gone from the budget debates, we settle down to the real question. Have we solved the problem of corruption? Have we solved the problem of crime? Have we solved the problem of a lackluster economy? Have we solved the problem of education? I see where the Prime Minister is now offering free education, one more free thing. He's calling it no tuition at the Heart Academy, the Heart Trust, up to the level 4. And of course, he's going to get a lot of applause. And we always do that. We always like to hear the sound of free. We never ask the question, at what quality? What will we actually get? Will it be a free education system that fails 70% of our students? Will it be a free education system that results in the majority of our best and brightest migrating? Will it be a free education system that creates a culture of corruption and scamming? So let's not just go off the little phraseologies and nice sounding words. Let's look at the substance. What does it really mean for us, for our country? What's the real development here? Let's get past the gimmicks and the games, the showmanship, and get to the heart of the problem. What is causing Jamaica to be as bad as it is? All right, so let me welcome, I'm not seeing Mr. Lewis yet, so I'll welcome for now Mr. Lloyd Diagalier. Good evening, Lloyd, how are you doing?
Good evening, Joseph. How are you?
Wonderful, not bad at all. I had an interesting conversation with Muta Baruka today. Um, we're talking about whether or not the UIC was ready for the next election and what needs to be done to get there. We also talked about the Marcus Garvey party, which has not yet been able to fully register, and about a coalition between the two organizations. And your name came up because we announced the event that's going to happen on the 19th of this month, which is Sunday coming, at the Chinese Cultural Center, I believe, 22 Barbican Road, where you have planned an event that's going to bring together a number of stakeholders concerning corruption and anti-corruption in particular. And the UIC is one of the panelists, in fact, myself. But after that event, we're going to hit the streets, some of us, in buses to deal with the crisis we're going to talk about tonight. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're going to be doing on the 19th in your segment of the program.
Well, as folks know, I was an advocate for the people in Tivoli Gardens in 2010. The security forces went into Tivoli Gardens and West Kingston after a state of emergency was declared by then Prime Minister Bruce Golding. And they went in there and massacred the people. Officially, they say 73 people were killed. When you talk to the people, they say about 200 were killed. And there were mass graves in Maypen Cemetery, which were never excavated and scientifically, forensically assessed, etc. The Tivoli Committee came into existence around that time, organized by myself, because we believe that the people there needed justice. And when the Commission of Inquiry started, we joined it, but we joined it critically because we felt that the matter needed to be brought before the International Criminal Court, because we have had commissions of inquiry before, and they have all turned out to be a whitewash. I anticipated that this commission of inquiry was also going to be a whitewash. And we were advocating for the superior commanders to be held accountable for crimes against humanity. And I think we stepped on a few toes there. They didn't like that. I was thrown out. And it turned out to be a whitewash, as we anticipated. The Prime Minister was not held accountable. The head of the army was not held accountable. And the head of the police was not held accountable. And they were the superior commanders, and they should have been held accountable. According to the definition of war crimes, etc., superior commanders are the ones who have to be held accountable for what the soldiers and police do. So, in a sense, my notoriety started there, but I've been advocating against police extrajudicial killings for a long time, and obviously human rights and economic rights and political rights, etc. So all of those things combined have brought us to where we are right now, in that we have formed the People's Anti-Corruption Movement, and the objective is to expose corruption, which Jamaica is one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Every year when an assessment is done of corrupt countries, Jamaica is ranked among the most corrupt countries. And something has to be done about it, because when you have corruption, what it means is that, to express it in a Jamaican way, you're boxing food out of poor people's mouth. And when you box food out of poor people's mouth, what it means is that people are hungry, people are poor, people are not educated, education is not being funded properly. And, the youths who are unemployed, don't have no education, don't have no job, are vulnerable to being recruited into gangs. And some of these gangs are political gangs. They have been set up by political parties in the first place. And we notice that when the guns come into Jamaica, we never hear them tracking the guns to whoever it was that it came to. It's always that they go to the airport, they find the guns, and that's the end of the matter. So if I were in charge of investigation, I would say let the person come and pick up the gun, and then we will find out what is his connection or her connection between the person who sent the gun. But we never have that.
But
So-
wasn't but when the shipment was sent, Lloyd, wouldn't it have already been addressed to a person?
Of course, it is addressed.
I mean, every time a barrel come for me, it have my name on it. I've never seen anybody that I know get a barrel that says to whoever come and pick it up. It
Absolutely.
always has a name and an address. So
Absolutely.
why is it when they find these guns, they can never tell us?
We never hear who it came to. I think there was one case of in Montego Bay, and it turned out to be a policewoman. And somehow it just went off the screen, the front burner. We never heard anything more. So I am very suspicious about who's importing the gun and who's distributing it. Because guess what? I mean, which poor boy in the inner city, in not a job, in not a money, and he can get these big expensive guns? Somebody give it to him. Why would you want it?
Now, Lloyd, which is why the UIC's crime plan is very different from the Prime Minister's. The Prime Minister's crime plan is to get excited, go into Parliament and play games with the opposition about calling or not calling a SOE. And if it's approved, or even if it's not approved by the other side, have one and push the criminals around the country. So we end up creating new franchises. So let's say you had criminals, a lot of them in Clarendon and a lot of them in Kingston and a lot of them over in Mobay, in certain places. Now you use the SOEs. Every time you go and clamp down on one area, they leave the area there and go to another area. You clamp down on that area, they leave and go. So over time, you have now spread out the crime problem across all 14 parishes, all 228 divisions. And so the Prime Minister actually has a crime plan, a plan to expand crime across Jamaica, a plan to expand it. Now the UIC's approach is to say, listen, rather than do all these big publicity stunts, why not have a serious program, a top-down program, where you look at targeted individuals who are leading in the political sphere, leading in the security and policing sphere, leading in the private sector sphere, and do a forensic analysis on their wealth and trace the money, follow the money. How did you, for example, let's say you're a politician. I know one politician, I have followed his life. I'll tell you how it went with him. He became a politician while working at a company as a technician. I won't tell you the name of the company. As a technician working and he was recruited by the PNP and given a divisional seat to run as a councillor. Remember now, little technician, he won the seat as a councillor. Then he did well as a councillor by their political standards and was promoted to run as an MP, and he won the seat in the bigger constituency as MP. By the time that politician died in office, he owned a massive amount of land and acquired a huge amount of wealth. Now, if you follow a comparable person like him, another guy that went to the same school like him and went to work at the same company in a similar position and the same lapse of time, there's a massive disparity between the wealth that the ordinary person who never got involved in politics, a massive disparity between his ability to accumulate any amount of wealth. That person can hardly buy a car, can't pay off them house, can hardly send him kids to school. And that is the majority we're talking about, and the vast majority. But just because this fellow went into politics and aligned himself with one of the two parties, he became tremendously wealthy. And at his death, some people come from the woodworks now who had worked with him during the political thing. They were trying to make claims to some of the assets that he had accumulated. Is that the kind of thing you're talking about when you refer to corruption?
Well, absolutely. What you're talking about is called cronyism and nepotism. In other words, the politician is connected, either politically, personally, or even sometimes by family-wise to people who they give contract to. And when they give contracts to those persons, they get a cut out of it, right? Or somebody looking at contract is a friend with a politician. You go to him and you say, listen, if you give me the contract, I won't give you a cut out of it. And that is cronyism and nepotism. But guess what? The Director of Public Prosecutions, when she had a case regarding Lisa Hanna before her, she said Lisa did a lot of bad things, terrible things. But guess what? Cronyism and nepotism is legal. That is what the Director of Public Prosecution said. So these politicians know that they can get away with all sorts of corruption because the system that is set up to investigate them and to charge them is not going to do so, and they get away with it all the time. It's just one more point, just like the police. The police knows that there's a wink and a nod from the Minister of National Security, from the Prime Minister, from the police commissioner, saying you can go out and commit judicial killings. And if you go out there and kill somebody, don't worry, you're not going to be prosecuted. And so what is happening is that there is impunity for police extrajudicial killings, and there is impunity for state corruption. And these things have to change. We have to get together, we have to talk about it, we have to come up with a plan, and we have to deal with it. And just one more point in terms of what you're saying about, you know, expanding the gangs all around the country. You must remember that no matter how you expand it and you set up, you know, areas in communities and stuff, when a man ready to kill a man, him kill him right under the nose of the police. It doesn't stop them from killing somebody when they want to kill them. And so what is the point of this state of emergency? What you need to is address the social problems, the social issues, and that is what is not being addressed by either side of the political spectrum. PNP not addressing it, GLP not addressing it, and all they have is state of emergency or something to do with using the security forces. And we know that that is not going to work. It's
funny. I was watching a program recently with a gentleman from the PNP. I think his name is Dayton Campbell. And he was speaking about the whole issue of how the SOEs are causing the gangs to spread. Of course, I know he copied it from the UIC. They do that all the time. So what they do, they take our talking points and then start to spread it as theirs. Anyways, he was saying that. And then it dawned on me, how can he be criticizing something which, for most of the time, the PNP has voted in favor of the Prime Minister's action to use this as a tool to curb crime? But I want to draw attention to something here. When we talk about corruption, correct me if I'm wrong, what we're really talking about is theft of public resources. It's abusing one's power, one's authority, that was vested in them through the electoral process maybe, or through the public sector commission process, abusing that power to steal state resources, to steal our taxes. That's the kind of corruption we're talking about. Is it just stealing? Is it really stealing?
Well, yeah, I mean, it is stealing. It is estimated by Transparency International and others who have done investigation into corruption in Jamaica that approximately $750 million US are wiped off the public funds each year and goes into the pockets of politicians and state officials. $750 million US is a lot of money.
That's a whole lot of money.
Billions.
So what I want to drill in the minds of our listeners, when you hear the word corruption, equate it to just thieving. Them are thief. So it's thief. So it's a nice sounding word, relatively speaking, corruption, but it's stealing. It's somebody stealing money. Now, what Lloyd alluded to a while ago is that they use various mechanisms. So one mechanism, Lloyd, that I saw is where they create a lot of government bodies and boards and put their political cronies on these boards and give them taxpayers' money and make it look legitimate. Is that a form of corruption?
Absolutely. Listen, the other day, the Airports Authority, there was a lady there that was a official that was connected to a bank. And she used the Airports Authority, Airports Authority, I think it's called, to buy millions of dollars of shares in a company that she was connected to. And she was connected to the Jamaica Labour Party. And guess who was in charge of that bank that she bought the shares? None other than Mr. Bruce Golding. Okay? So we see the...
So, I know I'm laughing or I'm smiling about this, but people, this is serious business. And 750 million US dollars is a serious loss. Multiply that by 10 years, multiply that by 20 years, multiply that by 50 years. In fact, these two parties have been in a position to either create a better Jamaica or a corrupt Jamaica. They've been in that position for 80 years. Now, help me with this, Lloyd, if after 80 years, you as a manager of a company can't make that company better. So I hire you and a team that says you are capable of managing my company properly. And I hire you for 10 years and the result is bad. And I hire you for 20 years and the result is bad. Should I allow you to continue in your position for 80 years?
Well, listen, I'm a little bit more generous than you. I say 60 years because up to 1962, the British were in control. So I'm not saying corruption and all that wasn't going on. But they cannot hide from the fact that in 1962, the Queen says, here it is, you're running the country. And they've been running the country ever since. So 60 years of corruption we have been faced with. And we've come to a point where, in the last election, they said 37% of the people voted. It means that 60-odd% didn't vote. That means that there is a legitimacy crisis as far as the political system is concerned.
But I want to tell you why I say 80 years. This is important. Yeah. I want the Jamaican people to know, and yesterday, these two parties came on the scene.
Absolutely.
The first election was held in 1944, which the JLP won. The first election. The JLP won this election. The JLP had the first 2 terms in office, right? And so they had an opportunity the first 10 years prior to independence to learn, to understand, to appreciate. Those two parties were the ones that oversaw the constitution that came into effect in 1962. Yeah. They had every opportunity in the 18 years before independence to design a constitution that would reflect the kind of Jamaica that they wanted to see. And they chose to design a constitution that I'm going to show you is by itself intrinsically corrupt. By its own design, encourages corruption, feeds corruption, and results in the kind of problems we're having 60 years after independence, but which has been impacted by their governance, their stewardship for 80 years. Tell me if me a lie.
Well, listen, when slavery was over, the slave masters were compensated. They not only compensated themselves, but they made sure that the ex-slaves didn't have access to land because, and then they courted a local political class. And so things developed over a period of time to 1944. After the workers all over the country, 1938 went out on strike. Everybody laid down their tools in the plantations all around the country and said, we're not taking this thing no more. We're not dealing with this. And this stimulated the middle class to go and form the People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party. And so therefore, they have had a relationship with Britain, with our colonial masters ever since. And they have that relationship up to this day.
I want to add, go ahead, finish up. Go ahead.
have a relationship. And so what we have is that they've been nurtured, they've been tutored, they've been groomed, and so therefore we are where we are right now.
So
and as I said before, there is a legitimacy crisis as far as the two political parties are concerned. Only 37% voted, and then when you divide that 37% between the two political parties, then you realize that it's just a handful of people, relatively speaking, that vote for one as opposed to the other. So therefore, we the people who have had enough, and clearly, even when the next election comes, even if the other side wins, the people are saying we are not interested in these two political parties at all. And that legitimacy crisis is going to continue. So now it's time for us to intervene and to give an alternative to the two political parties that dominate and govern over us.
Stick a pin. Now, you have made an excellent point about the legitimacy crisis, but I don't want our viewers to miss the critical point here, that these two parties have been around for more than 80 years, actually. They have engineered the Jamaica you see today. Now, you mentioned that they came out of the middle class. Now, it's not necessarily the middle class, but an elite group that claim to be a part of the middle class. But watch carefully. Don't forget that prior to PNP, there was the Marcus Garvey's People Political Party, right? That party was formed out of the bowels of the Jamaican people, the grassroots of the Jamaican people. That party represent the essence and ideals of the kind of country we wanted to see. And the manifesto of Marcus Garvey reflected that. Now, the People's National Party, out of which the PNP would come, the JLP would come, worked with the elites of the day. That's the Gleaner Company, which was like our social media today and our TV today and radio today. The Gleaner Company. The PNP worked with the Gleaner Company and worked with the plantocracy, the elite business owners of the time, to ridicule, oppress, and eventually suppress Marcus Garvey and destroyed the Marcus Garvey People Political Party, and by extension, robbed the Jamaican people of a truly grassroots and indigenous political movement that would have fought for their interests. What we ended up with was two whitewash parties that were more inclined to the colonial masters. Watch how they wrote the Constitution. The Constitution reflects their love and appreciation of their British overlords. And they would do nothing to terribly change Jamaica from seeing the British, the white British people, as their lord and governors. They never ever saw to the real desire of the black Jamaican man and woman, the African in us, and our desire to be truly free and liberated. And that's why even to this day, we have the monarchy as head of state. Even to this day, we have a governor general consuming more than $250 million in the name of the Crown of England, providing no value to our political process. But let me welcome Mr. L.A. Lewis. Welcome to the program, sir. How are you doing? Look like he's frozen. Lloyd, are you frozen too?
No, I'm not.
All right, you can pick it up from here. Do you have any comments on what I just said?
Look, I'll make one more point about the crown. And,
okay, he's back. All right, Mr. Lewis, welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Yeah, greetings, my brother. I'm doing great, but can I do look a bit more great about? Sorry for the lateness, but get caught up in the subway traffic. I would call that subway traffic because hundreds of thousands of people is stranded right now on the road as we speak. Yes, and say if you have your people, them you can call them downtown, call them half a tree, call Rima, call jungle. No bus system now run because the Prime Minister want to take the local bus and the local taxi them off the road for putting for them on a private system, and it's shaking up the place because watch out now. Look a bit of rainfall today, and for them bus system cannot angle it. I see it madness this on the road. So I'm here on the road, trying to get to somewhere from 2 o'clock and just go while look a barely bit to get somewhere in my own vehicle.
You said subway. You said
Yeah,
subway?
you would call it you would call it a subway traffic, because if you're trying to reach your destination from after 4 o'clock and up to now, you still can't reach nowhere. If you turn to Rima, it block up, turn to Jungle, and a town it block up. You rally back and go to half a tree, you go to Crossroad. Just call anyone and ask them what is going on in the streets right now, and you'll find out. Because I'm in the streets here from Portmore, Town. No bus now run.
But
And the traffic.
for a moment, I thought you were in another country because I know that Jamaica doesn't have a subway system. So, but what you're saying though is you're in a substandard system, a very substandard system that is unable to cope with a little bit of rainfall.
All right. But a fundamental level, if you put it now, in English speaking.
My wife went to Santa Cruz today to pick up a few things, and the rain started to fall. And by the way, I thank God for the rain because we have gone now for a few months without any rain. But you went to Santa Cruz because election is coming. They just paved the back road. There's a back road here where we can drive on. So they paved the back road just because election won't come. And as soon as the rain comes, as God lives, they forget to fix the drains. And therefore, some areas they never even put in a drain. So even though they paved the nice road now, nice and paved, guess what happened? The big rain come, the flood water back up, and now it's going to compromise the structure. So in about 2 to 3 weeks or so, you'll see all of that nice road, a big piece of it wash away. That is the kind of substandard engineering, substandard construction that has wasted taxpayers' money and delivered to us bad roads that creates the problem you talk about. For example, when the water back up, traffic slow down. So traffic can't go properly. People can't go about their business efficiently. The road will wash out that them just fix. We have to find more tax dollars to fix it. And so the corruption goes on. Mr. Lloyd, that's right, go.
Yeah, absolutely. There is mismanagement also, where, as I said, because of cronyism and nepotism, you give contracts to people who have skills or, to be able to fix a problem. And then you start to fix a road, you don't properly fund it. And so therefore it's left, not being properly completed, etc. And then the people suffer. And then you watch your television and you see people going out there on the road and demonstrating and going on strike and so on and so forth. It goes on and on and on. But I believe the conversation that we need to have with the people is that the reason why there is this incompleteness in terms of social infrastructure is because the money is not there, and the money is being
the money is there. No, the money is there. The money is there. But the money is going in the wrong place.
Going in the wrong place.
Yeah. So Jamaica people ask me all the time when I share with them the UIC's manifesto, and we tell them that we're going to make Jamaica a place where 98% of us are homeowners, that we're going to return the land to the people, that we're going to provide employment for all the students leaving high school who are not going on to college or any other gainful program. When we tell them that we're going to have a work fair program, so adults who can't find work, who are unemployed and need to get assistance like they do on Path right now, we're going to give them something better than that. When we tell them we're going to build organic farms across the country and engage in water harvesting and food security and energy, they say, where the money going to come from to do all of that? I said, we don't have a problem with money. Right now, we're taking over $990 billion. The current budget is over $1 trillion. The money is not the problem. The problem is the kind of governance that we have and how that governance deploys the money that we have. Because right now, the way we're deploying the money is keeping the majority poor and making a few very, very rich without them earning that wealth. I have nothing against riches, but you must earn that wealth. What do you say to that, Mr. Lewis?
No, for the fundamental level, you know, I just said there, you know. So, nothing wrong for Andrew Wallace to thief some money, you know, and the other government party may thief some money. But when you thief some money, remember the poor people, and remember the country, remember the pity them. You understand? Because watch one of the wickedest robbery now. I am on the tollway right now, going to Portmore. Yes, I have to drop off some family members. And the tollway fee, my friend, is Godzilla-rific. It is gigantic. You understand? So, and for you pay a toll for going in your yard and for come out your yard. So even this tollway right now is illegal. You understand? And the Chinese them they lease it and then pay off them bill and then them rent it out back. I think at the French want it now. You understand? So the Chinese make back their money long time and then lease it out back to the French. And you know, so the Chinese them now let go something until they make for their money. Because you know the Chinese them is up to the money. So see it here, look here. And the traffic back up and then look on the wickedest insult to injury. We have a police, with fireman them, with doctor, with nurse. And do you know, say, not one of them can go through the tollway free. Them have, if they don't have their money, them have to turn back and a police car that will go through. So not even police or military, them get a free pass.
So Mr. Lewis, hold on. I have to stop you now because some people on the live want to make sure that we get this plug-in. We not endorse nobody a thief the money. So the Prime Minister...
All right, allegedly, you understand? Because at the end of the day, and me say so, you can't go on...
No, we agree with you that them thieving, but I think you suggested that it's okay for them to thief some, but they need to do something. Listen, the views of the emperor is the views. Listen, when we say that now, you will understand. For years, the Caucasian them have been robbing us blind. So remember, you know, so if you can get to take back some from the Caucasian, but when they get to take it back from the colonial government, you put it back over to your people them. So you have to be the Robin Hood of today. You understand? But what our politicians them have been doing now, they have been taking the money from the Caucasian them and putting it in 100%. Listen, I'm teaching you something if you never know. Because remember, you know, I'm about the PMP party, I'm about the JLP party. Because if it wasn't for me, Andrew Wallace would be in power. And I can give Portia Simpson number now. I ask her if I don't me to come up with a digital promotion when time there was no digital promotion exist. And Portia make a white watch. You understand? And that's why when I say she called me up and she said, big up Peter Bunting, big up this, big up that, but most of all, big up L.A. Lewis. So why would I believe a prime minister that said most of all, big up L.A. Lewis? I used to she called me up in the national arena. And then a couple months after that now, when Hardly Shaw, they got beat Andrew Wallace for 5. And Beverly Prince called me from Kasha Park. I said, L.A., we don't have enough money now. $300,000 me charge her. And until now, I'm going to get my $50,000, $250,000. I make this a boom. I use the same digital promotion. I make Andrew Wallace beat Hardly Shaw. And that's why up at national arena now. When you see Anthony Miller, them shoot the video, them say, hey, but Emperor, you just back Portia. I know you're back Andrew. I say, yes, I am a businessman. I am not a politician of such. Till me confirm the Maroon government now. And I like where you people are going, because where you people are going now is a sense of fresh breeze. I don't know, January the 14th, me born, you know, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Naphtali. So, money a rob, and not until we all can come to the conclusion and say, them a thief. We are going to turn thief too, because you are going now, we're afraid to celebrate thief. But other than that, mash up the country now, people.
When you see thief with long bag, we say it's a sharp bag, and we put up line, and we say allegedly. So that's why I say the views of this station is that the views of you people. The views is me. So me take all lawsuit. Me tell. So I see that. Look at now. These are the tollway now. These people are getting under $9,000 a week. No, you are take billions of dollars from the people and you pay the local people at the tollway $9,000 a week. See that? Empress, you still get 9,000, right? Yes, I tell you, $9,000 a week, them still get pocket money. They pay the toll people, they collect billions of dollars. See that? $500 for go me yard and $500 for come and go to the market. And if me make 4 trips for left to Portmore, how wickedness are going?
All right.
Then
Let me
they have a country now.
Hold on a second. Hold on.
They have a
Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Man.
Hold on a second. 1 second. Now hear me clearly. I want to touch on this matter. I want to touch on this matter of the toll road. Toll road. Now,
proposition. No, you're
turn off your thing there for a second. Mute yourself for a second. Now, the toll road. Lloyd, why should the Jamaican people be paying toll, especially when it's a main road that they have to drive on? They must drive on. Yes, you can go all the way around to Mandela Highway and come around, but this is in and out of Portmore. The people of Portmore have been locked off from easy commute out of their community unless they pay a toll on top of the taxes that they have already paid. So they pay taxes out of their pay to the government to provide good quality roads for them. They pay property taxes, which they should not be paying. The UIC is going to abolish property taxes, but they're paying it now. They pay GCT, 16.5%, now 15%. And they're being forced now to pay on top of all of those taxes an added tax of paying a toll. The UIC is committed to eliminating that. The people of Portmore should not be paying a toll to leave and go to their homes. How do you feel about that, Mr. De Aguilera?
Well, listen, we always talk about China Harbor Engineering Company. And when China, or how China Harbor Engineering Company got the contracts to build the road system, the highway system that we see all around the place, is by having bribed politicians, right? They bribed politicians. They got these contracts to build these roads. Let's remember now that when they started to reach out to China Harbor Engineering Company, or China started to reach out to them, what China did was to give free air tickets to politicians to come to China, right? All of them went to China, prime minister, opposition politician, government politician, and they went to China and they sat down and they worked out a deal, and China Harbor Engineering Company came to Jamaica. But remember that it started under the JLP, and when Omar Davis came back into power, he did an investigation into the allegations of corruption that went on between China Harbor Engineering Company and the Jamaica Labour Party. And corruption was discovered, but it didn't go deep enough, that commission of inquiry, because I believe that Omar Davis knew that he also wanted to do business with China Harbor Engineering Company. And, just some years ago, one of the PNP officials claimed while Omar Davis was in power that money was given to the PNP, and he was hinting that it was China Harbor Engineering Company, and the money wasn't trickled down to the MPs to do their run their campaigns and so on and so forth. So we must remember now that corruption in all its forms means that there might be insufficient money to do what needs to be done because it has gone into people's pockets. But what they have to do is to tax us, to tax the people, to make sure that they will have enough capital money to spend on capital, and that is a big issue. We must also remember another thing is that in this present budget, the leader of the opposition was claiming that they're paying too much taxes, and I quite agree with him on that, right? And then the government.
Sorry, say that again. I missed that.
He's saying that poor people pay too much taxes.
Too much taxes.
Yeah, that is what
Okay.
Who
said that? Who said that?
Golding, Mark Golding.
Mark Golding.
Mark Golding. Okay, and then now Holness spoke today, and he said, "How can you talk about increased taxes? We haven't increased taxes." But guess what? Both of them are in agreement that the rich and the super rich are not being taxed sufficiently. Mm-hmm. Taxes should be increased on the rich and the super rich, and none of that is happening. Mm-hmm. So that they're equating the poor man with the rich man, and the two of them cannot be equated, because what it means is that when you equate them, is that you're trying to make a case for the rich man who is not paying his fair share of taxes. And let me say that we must remember that a couple of years ago, the tax administration of Jamaica has the power to write off back taxes owed by corporations, and millions of dollars was written off.
Yes, of some corporations.
Yeah,
the favored ones.
Not everyone, but you know, tax money was written off, and one of the companies that the tax was written off was a company that Nigel Clark used to work with. Of course, he's saying that I didn't do it, it wasn't me. But there is corruption at all levels.
Hear me on this.
At the bottom.
I want us to look at this. Look at this carefully. What we're talking about here, you talked about Mark Golding talking about the poor paying too much taxes and all of that. What we're seeing here is an attempt by the PNP to regain state power, having failed the people miserably over and over and over. There's no party on the planet that has appealed more to the emotions of poor people than the PNP. And every time they get a chance to do what they say that they were going to do for poor people, they failed to do it. And every time they failed, the people turned to the JLP, who then reminded them why they should never vote JLP. And then the people go back to the PNP and get more of the same sweetened bitter medicine, sugar-coated bitter medicine, where they promise them all kinds of stuff. Right now, if they were in power, they would have given the teacher what they needed. They'd have given firefighters what they needed. They'd have given nurses what they needed. They'd have fixed everything. And as soon as we give them power again, within 2 years, 3 years, we're back to square one, wondering, what have we just done? The answer to that problem, it's time for us to say time up. Time come to say time up. We, the people, must realize it's a game, and they're gaming us. And the longer we keep playing the game, is the more they're going to destroy us in favor of their external friends and powers who are funding their campaigns. It's time for us to say time up. But I have a very important gentleman here in the audience, Mr. Leon Bennett. How are you doing, sir?
It is Leo Bennett.
Oh, Leo, sorry, my sincere apologies. Mr. Leo Bennett, how are you doing tonight?
Well, good and not so good. Yes,
well, go ahead.
We know Jamaica social environment for a very long time, and especially now, it's in a terrible place.
Yes.
I was invited by Mrs. Powell.
Yes. Mrs. Powell is a vice president of the movement. But tell us, sir, why did you put your life at risk and climb all the way on the top of that building in Halfway Tree to declare your utter frustration and disgust with the system that you have been exposed to, what you have experienced as a member of Jamaica's firefighting establishment? Why did you put yourself at risk, sir?
All right, before I get into that, let me make a small declaration in that
Yes.
I would have met with a minister yesterday, and we basically have a gentleman agreement in that I wouldn't make too much of a public statement regarding the overall situation. But of course, as a Jamaican citizens, we all have a voice to speak. Understand? So I want to be as careful as possible at this moment. However, by sometime on the weekend, I would have indicated to Ms. Powell that I want to be with your movement. Understand? All right. To your question more specifically.
No, I didn't hear the last part. Repeat the last part. By the end of the weekend, you want something?
By the end of the week, I have a gathering on the weekend.
Yes.
I hope to be part of that group.
Absolutely. For the benefit of always listening, that's going to be the 19th of March, which is this Sunday at 1 p.m. We meet up at the Chinese Cultural Center, which is at 22 Barbican Road. We have a wonderful event that's organized by Mr. Lloyd concerning anti-corruption, after which the UIC leads a very important event subsequent. So we all meet and participate in the panel discussion, listen to the issues concerning corruption, and then we're going to leave and do some action activities outside of that center, not in the same vicinity. We have a bus and everything there. So get ready for that on the 19th of March. But continue.
Okay, to answer your question more specifically now.
Yes.
I would like to answer to that small quote. I think it was Winston Churchill, our great American president, who said, only thing that evil need to persist is for good people to sit around and do nothing about it. Yes, so I decided that sitting around would never help our cause as Jamaicans. If we want a better Jamaica, someone has to get up and stand up. Yes, and if it means that I must do it as an individual, if it means that I must do so with a bit of creativity to garner that public attention, then that was the main aim.
Wonderful.
Could I just say something? I remember you were doing your one-man protest some months ago, and yes, I admired you for what you were doing. And then I saw you on top of the transport authority, and I admired you for what you're doing. And I just want to say to you that we need more people like you who are bold, who are fearless, who are willing to go there. If it's even you want to go, they go do it. Go do it. Because what you're doing is you are attracting attention and people are looking at you, and you can become a leader of people in terms of what needs to be done. What I would advise you, though, is that you have more support than you imagine. So do not compromise yourself with any politician, any minister. You need to come forward and speak to the people. Be honest with them. Tell them what is going on, what has happened to you, etc. And even if you lose your job, trust me, other people will give you work so that you can make a living because they admire your courage. And that would be my advice to you, that you must come forward, you must state what is going on. I mean, for example, when you were doing your one-man protest, I was reading that they were planning to fire you. They were going to discipline you because they said that you were embarrassing the management and the leadership of the fire brigade. And you did a good job, and it looked like them suspend you because of that. So don't back down. Continue to do what you're doing.
Absolutely. No, that is a very important point that you have made, Lloyd. This is critical. What they're trying to do is to silence you by offering you a carrot. And it's not the first time that they would have done this. There are many times that they have made promises. For example, take the taxi operators. They have given them several promises behind closed door. wait, man, we're going to have a meeting. And what they have done, they've systematically undermined the public transport operators, divided them so that they buy time to divide us and get us to become, no, man, the minister promised me something. They also go and pay off some people. You'll have a group of you, let's say a group of you working, and they'll take one or two and give them a money, and they will sell out the rest of the group.
True.
For a 10,000, a 20,000, 100,000. So be careful not to allow them to manipulate you. Lloyd is 100% correct. Be prepared and stand with us, the people. Declare what it is that they're offering. I'm not forcing you to do that tonight, but declare what it is that they're offering, because why should it be in secret? You have not shown your contempt for them in secret. You have shown it publicly and said, this is wrong.
True.
If they have an idea, if they have a proposal, bring the proposal forward. Why is it has to be in secret? Because what happens is when they give it to you now, they want to take away your freedom of speech, your freedom to share what is happening. We give you something, but don't say nothing. And that is the kind of corruption that we need to wipe out in this country. But let me hear from Mr. Lewis quickly, because I'm sure he has a point to make on this. Go, Mr. Lewis.
Well, on a fundamental level, you know, I every time I go up on a program such as this, would I like to ask if can I talk freely? Because remember, I'm not doing I'm not slackness, I'm not talking in a bad word or nothing. Can I talk freely?
Yeah, man, you're free to talk. Everybody here, it's a free conversation.
All right. So,
Close the door.
11 years ago, when me and Her Excellency Portia Simpson Miller was rolling, what we did now, Portia did come and said she's a new queen for Jamaica. But at the time now, Bruce Golding did elbow her and said, listen, Portia, you can't do that because it's conflict of interest because you already served Queen Elizabeth. But true, everybody know me as a big Queen Elizabeth fans at the time. Everybody checks say I wasn't gonna do what I do. So, but me say wait, but me not sign no electoral order for sure. So I'm a subject to the Queen or to the Pope. You understand? Because once you sign any electoral decision for go to the poll, you automatically sign to the clergy. You actually sign to the Pope. And you actually sign to the crown, which the crown is not really the prince or the king. The crown is still the Pope and the style. In them the Vatican, or them call themselves now the Jesuit, which my friend next door to me now, the Ras, him know exactly what I'm saying. Yes, about some people afraid because they're afraid them get assassinated. But I am protected under the power of the Most High, Nian Kepong, you understand, the El Shaddai, the Tetragrammaton, the Gaia, the ever-present mother of the earth. So, I registered underneath the sovereign Nian Kepong Maroon government, which we linked it up with the United Nations, linked it up with the World Code system. You understand? So we got it all our papers straight. So what Portia did, I did. So that's why now, when the Great Rural Reset come, and everyone here knows I'm a top Freemason too. So I've been to places, seen things that I don't think now half of you people have seen, and I know everything that is coming, and I know every order that is got to shed. So if you watch the whole of my program them now, you will see say everything that happened from 2018, I predict the whole of them things from 2016, and every injection was fling, and every scamdemic, and every politician will go dead. I tell us a cheap politician will go dead in other thing, and cheap politician dead. I'm gonna tell you why them go dead, because when the World Health Organization give over $100 billion, you have to make a sacrifice back. But I won't call any name right here now. But I don't know the cheap politician what died. What me tell you, them they go dead before them dead. Different from that now, my people.
So,
what we are looking at now is a deeper picture.
Hold on a second. We're having a problem. We're having a challenge following you. Hold on a second. We wanted to kind of talk right now about the work that Mr. Leo Bennett has done, the valiant effort that he has made to bring attention to firefighters and their plight. So we wanted to get your feedback on that. So hold on for a second. Mr. Bennett, do you have anything else you want to share with us about, what's happening with the firefighters now? what led you to do what you did. You don't have to talk about whatever you don't want to talk about, but we want to understand the plight of firefighters.
Fire brigade is one of the chief institution which deals with public safety. We are first responders. And a lot of time, the politics of the land plays into the kind of service which the public receives. You understand? A lot of time, better could be done by, let us put it, the operational members. But due to the politics of the land, as we say, it stymies or reduces the quality. I don't think it is much different from what is even happening in the health sector. I have one uncle and a grand aunt. One lives in St. Mary, the uncle lives in St. Mary, and he took ill, fainting spell. And would you believe that there is not one MRI machine in the parish of St. Mary? While we see public money, public funds being wasted left, right, and center, even in the health sector itself. Even in the health sector itself. And a basic, yet very important piece of equipment, it doesn't exist in the parish. I have a grand aunt, basically the same thing. She was in coma for almost a month at the Linstead Hospital. She couldn't move. She couldn't move because of her condition. The doctor recommended that she can't move. But why should she move when she's already at a hospital? The equipment should be there. To my surprise, Monday morning when I woke up and read the Gleaner, only to find out that the largest hospital in the English-speaking Caribbean, which is KPH, doesn't have the equipment either. Basic but essential. You understand? I don't want to speak. If I could speak on the specifically on fire brigade now, trust me, it would be some bombshells, which I don't want to disclose right now. But I just want to speak generally. So we know that other public institutions are facing it, and a lot of time it is because of even how you choose leadership, management is a whole of favoritism, a whole of yes men. Instead of choosing people with the competence, they choose people with loyalty.
Political loyalty.
We know it is politics. We understand politics, but it can't be too overbearing. You must strike a balance. Yes. So the corruption, it is eating away at the core of us Jamaican.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little, Mr. Bennett, about yourself. Help my viewers to understand you. Who is Mr. Bennett? Tell us a little about yourself, the person.
Well, I am Leo Bennett. Where I was born, the community don't even exist again. I on the train line at the Gully Bank, behind Thamespen. 45 years old. I was taken to the country as a child because of political violence, other social upheaval. Was brought up with mother, father until the age of about 13. Dad went away to foreign. Typical story, burial children and find out next. So from there, I was like, we live in a fatherless household then.
How many of you?
Our mother had 4 of us.
Okay.
Yes.
And which school you went to? Which
Geisel High School. I'm from Northeast St. Catherine.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you're a
In
country
terms of
boy.
profession, I love agriculture, farming, because I believe food production is key. We're talking about right now, if you look at the price of one patty in Jamaica, it's almost $300. But the minimum wage is $9,000. A parent with even one child. I ever put two parents with two low-income parents together. It hardly make any sense. Yes, we could do a lot more, and I hope your administration focuses on as much as we can produce in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. Starting with
agriculture farming
agriculture.
still.
Mm-hmm.
Within 2 years, the price of fertilizer would have increased almost 50%. The same thing for chicken feeding. And those prices reflect in the prices the final consumer pays. Low income, the poorer class of Jamaica, we are suffering right now under the cash. Of course, we know that some of it is brought on by the global upheavals and the pandemic, such as the war in Europe, Russia, Ukraine. They would produce most of the grain.
Can I just ask a question of Mr.
Yes.
Because what I'm very much interested in is the trade union representation of firefighter workers, because there seems to be some kind of deficiency where that is concerned. The teachers have a deficient JTA. They're complaining that they signed an agreement with the government about a wage increase and they did not support it. I want to let you know also that a lot of the trade unions are not democratic. They have not had elections in years. We have 2 people in parliament right now, and I don't know when last there's ever been a workers' congress to decide whether they should be leading the union or not. It seemed like a dictatorship. So I would like to know, what is the situation among firefighters? What kind of union do you have? Is it a democratic union? Do you, as a rank and file, have control over the leadership of the firefighter union? And when last did you have an election to elect the leaders of that union?
Sir Lloyd, you're a very powerful man, you know. You ask a very, very, very important question. I became non-unionized about 10 years ago because I saw, to say deficient, you're putting it lightly. You're putting it very, very lightly. Yes, I call them impotent. Yeah. Bennett and them is always at odds because the representation, it is woeful. Whenever salary negotiation comes up, have any Jamaican ever heard of the Jamaica Fire Brigade sticking out or asking for more? Never. Because they will go out and claim that the firefighters agree, but that that is not even close to the truth. They don't engage with us in any meaningful way regarding.
All right, just to back what you're saying now, my brother, because that's why before I was cut it off by the host, I was got to get to everything that you're saying and over. And sometimes people, I want you to, I may be a person who talk a little bit long, but if you listen to me, you will get to understand what I'm saying. None of you here will ever live to see the fire brigade people, the police, the doctors, or the nurse, get any good treatment from now until 2030. I'm going to say again, it's a thing called the 2030 agenda, and this is no conspiracy. So you can go to the World Health Organization website and you will see it. It's a thing called the depopulation program. Right now, Bill Gates, just today, and I will send you the video, or you can go to my website and look on it. Bill Gates just have been sued for $86 billion Dr. Fauci have been sued and now is looking to go to prison for the same vaccine that them go on run go take. So the Prime Minister, I don't want to say the opposition leader to took the money to give to the people them, and then when him for give to the people them for either pay them for take the vaccine, them turn around and said enough of the people them never have email address, never have certain things, and then they hear nothing about the money. Go back now to the fire brigade now. If you look, I respect what the king do. I go down to the fire brigade station down at Spanish Town Road about 6 to 8 months ago. I know you must hear about it. You didn't see it on TV. I was the first one who go and demonstrate for the fire brigade people them. And enough of the fire brigade people them not even want to come in at the video because they're afraid them get fire. See, I'm like, oh, the whole of the police them, anything at all, and me, the police them call and say, Emperor go talk for we, because they make the police them sign some new contract. What if the police them evil lobby to get them money, them get fire. So a lot of you people have to know what is going on. So let me tell you, say I was a part of the Freemason and think I'm going to cut me off. Yes, and I am here to defend the whole of and save the whole of life. So I'm thankful for what the youth DC or the your party is doing. UIC. Because remember, the first demonstration in the whole entire world was done by myself. And then the second one was done by His Excellency Mr. Patterson, when I rate. But what happened now, them Ku Klux, Mr. Patterson, them try the same thing with me. But the reason why them could hold me now, because the same thing when I tell you all to try to save, but on still not go here. You understand? Because of people put ego in the way and people put political difference in the way. I am here not to burn PMP, not to burn JLP, not to burn UIC. I am here to save the whole of because after this depopulation program done, what if anybody say them don't know about the depopulation, just go on the World Health Organization website. Everything that was planned is actually going on now. So the world, as Damon Crawford said, Anja Holness is not running the country. The country is running by the big farmers and the Roman Catholics them. So if Damon Crawford is in there and him publicly said that, and then if KD Knight, and I can give a KD Knight personal number, and he will tell you, so the last election where them run, them take all of you people bird paper money and run the election because you people are all stocks and bond and the World Health Organization stocks and bond market. And if you don't believe me, call the United Nations tomorrow, or you can call now the London Stock Exchange and tell them, say, you people want to check up on the stocks and bond certificate. What that money now, Anja Holness have run the country for the bird paper money and they don't know.
All right,
all right, okay. Go ahead.
The man is asking me a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Bennett.
Yes, my brother.
No, you touch on a very serious point in terms of the banking crisis which is happening in the United States.
All right, my brother.
The kind of effect which it will have on us. We as a people, I hope Mr. Patterson is prepared to
but hold on a second, hold on a second, Mr. Bennett. You don't give us enough information. You don't tell us what's the name of the union. You don't really tell us
there are two unions
going on. You need to stick to give us an understanding of what's going on in the fire brigade where the workers are concerned.
There's no union. It's just a sham. And that Mr. Manny, there's no union.
Let me answer Mr. Diagala because he posed a very important question. Of course, as I had stated at the beginning, I don't want to give a fulsome disclosure right now. You understand? I want to allow them. We have a gentleman agreement and I want to allow the kind of diplomacy. I am a very militant person. I can be. Yes. I can create drama to achieve goodwill. Yes, but we promise them to allow a little diplomacy to work.
Yeah, but you're compromising yourself. When you do that, you're compromising yourself, and you're causing people to lose confidence in you. And
there's a time. That's why I said by the weekend. Let me jump remind the president that by weekend I will be able to speak more fulsome. Give a more fulsome disclosure.
Yeah, Mr. Bennett, I'm going to trust your judgment, sir. To you know what you're dealing with. I'm going to suggest that we allow you the space and time because you don't want to ever just speak like that. You must think first and check all the facts.
What happened is that I had a couple of media interviews line up, and I actually had to cancel them. You understand?
Yes.
For the same reason.
Well, let's, people don't jump to too much judgment right now. Let's allow Mr. Bennett the freedom and the space to make a decision that he thinks is
But
the
in
best
terms
one.
of, sorry, Fabric.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I could tell you still, there are two unions, which is JALGO and UAW.
Mm-hmm.
And what
Right.
I could say more on union is workers' union are usually, if not all of them, are aligned to a political party.
I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
That is the next thing that make them
No.
compromise integrity, their integrity.
There is no
Hold
union.
on. So you are saying then that JALGO and the UAW are the two unions that represent the fire brigade workers?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And them sell out.
Okay, well, I mean, do you know Mr. Lambert Brown?
Yes, I do know him.
Mr. Lambert Brown has been a senator for decades now. When last did the UAW have a workers' congress to elect and decide whether they want Lambert Brown to continue ruling over them?
That is why I told them. I told them to their face that they are impotent. That is why there are 6 other members who have been suspended with me. Those persons are unionized, not like me, who basically is a rebel. And because I am seen as the head of those persons, they offer no representation to those workers
People.
or any lobby for those other 6 members in terms of them. They're legal.
But you are an influential member of the union or the workers, right? So why don't you organize an opposition to the leadership of the union which you are part of? Or why didn't you organize an opposition? Because there you are, you're in public, people are taking note of what you're doing. And I'm sure if you were to do the same thing inside the union, amongst the workers, they would follow you.
Can I answer that?
Allow him to answer.
LA.
Yes.
Of course, we did make attempts to form what is called a federation, similar to what the police or the correctional officers, other public sector workers have. However, culture, one of the things, culture is one of the hardest things to change. Understand? So a lot of persons, well, not a lot, it wouldn't be as significant, maybe a 10% of who we would have reached out to. There are about 2,000 members in the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Yes, maybe like 200 would have been officer. So the rest of us, maybe 1,800 would have been rank and file members. You understand? But let me tell you, other unions would have tried to come in even to the brigade, other traditional unions, and they would have been kept out systematically. Ask me how them do it. Maybe we know them do it, but I'm not gonna say it. You understand?
All right. Allow me to say it now. Approximately there are 2,800 fire members from Trenchtown, go to the Negril, go to
Louis, no, to about 2,000. Nobody come with that.
No, man. All right, check it out when they're done. If right now, call Portmore fire station, them out of phone line of a Waterford police station for nearly a year now, and included the Waterford police station don't have no phone line. I go over there, go lobby for them. Them say them they will get the phone line and call over there right now and see if them have it. Check Spanish Town Road fire bridge station. Them over there says is an embarrassment again. So, and as you said, you saw my video before your video go. But let me tell you something now. The reason why there will be no other union. I just let me talk now, and then you can talk now. Allow you make a talk now. The mere fact is financial support. My friend here doesn't have the financial bucket. It is a buyout. The political system control the union them for over nearly from ever since. So you have to just done talk and then you can talk. If you and then me have $500,000 per me right now. And if I'm telling a lie, anyone only can win it. You understand? So the fire station now, every time a powerful person like yourself come up, my friend, them booting out and then use financial backative and pushing out. See it here, 500,000 I have for me. And if I'm telling a lie, anyone can win it. What is stopping you now are everybody who have tried the same thing what you have been trying. Because my grandfather was a fire brigade member. That's why I see me take so passionate about it. And me myself, 1999, went to down Elliston Road for sign up for ton police. But them time they pay police $40,000. That's why I see me so passionate. And they will come back out of the police station work. And me they go up at camp for ton JDF soldier. Them are going into the music business, them are going into the maroon government business, and some of them make millions of dollars now. Every time a fire station worker come for try to fix it, either them find themselves get fired or find themselves get pushed to the side. And the only reason why them organize with you now, because you are the social media blogger. So them find out so even them fire you now, you still go they're gonna make up nice. So what they're gonna try to do now, they gotta try to come with this and try to tell you look a story, and then them lock you off and make you sign a confidential deal, like what them do with all of the others of fireman them and police them who come up loud like you, like what them do with Renita Adams. But Renita Adams is a different story. I know I call him on the phone and put him on the line and him tell you where I go on. So you do not have the financial backative, my friend. I would like to love you up and agree with you, but my friend, if you did have the financial backative, you could put up the union. So right now, if you don't want to put up a union, just come to the maroon government and come borrow $10 million from me because we have it. Because every show I'm go up on, I collect 10,000 US or 13,000 US every show. I put that in a Jamaican money, you understand? And I'm driving now in a 16,000 US dollar vehicle. You understand? See it here, brand new. I don't know how much Benz me have. You understand? So what is mashing you people up now is the financial backative, my friend. So you will never leave to start a union until you can go independent. That's what is stopping you. So fire brigade.
Can I just intervene here? There are already two unions representing fire brigade workers.
But them buy out, them sell out.
Hold on now. There are two unions representing them. So all that Mr. Bennett and others like him have to do is to challenge the leadership of those unions and to say, listen,
all right,
you're not representing us properly. It's not a democratic union. And so therefore we want an election and you go ahead and campaign. Maybe then you can take some money from him and you can print up your flyers and let the rest of the workers know that you're challenging leadership.
All right, so we're just talking now.
You need to challenge the leadership because they are not democratic and they're aligned to the political parties and to the government in power, etc., etc. So I believe you have a job ahead of you, Mr. Bennett, and you should step up to the plate.
I have financial backative now because I want to with the maroon government. We are the one who's watching over every government. So any government not playing good because we are not a governmental party. We are a royal party. We are the one who's looking to take back the country from Prince Charles, so King Charles, and the Pope. So if UIC is going on good, we put the UIC on UIC. Like all I never just want to finish that. I'm gonna come to my ending now. Same like when Portia was in, asked PJ Patterson, we helped fund Portia Simpson to win against Bruce Golden. And then when Andrew Wallace was in, we helped to fund Andrew Wallace to win against Ardley Shaw. And like our fund Richard Curry to win against my boy the down there. And trust me, people.
So
we are not foolishness. So look up. I'm coming to the finish now, Mr.
I have
UIC.
a question for you. Just a second.
That's why I like UIC.
Just a second. Hold on a second. You're muted, man. Hold on a second. Pause for a second. Are you saying, Mr. Lewis, that you are behind the election of the two colonial parties, and therefore you are a part of the problem that we have in Jamaica?
No, man, that's why I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. I said at that time now, we didn't realize that the PMP and the JLP was both funded by the Democratic Party, which is the American government, and the Roman Catholic. So whether you say JLP or say PMP, it's the same thing, but at the time we didn't know. So let's say like 99% of the country doesn't know. You understand? So, but I didn't fund the party. I fund the leader. Because Portia Sims at the time was a good leader. And at the time before Andrew Wallace got China and then buy him out, because from Andrew Wallace coming from China, I want for that clone them send back.
Let me just pick up some. So what you're saying is that at some point you thought that the leadership of the PNP or the GLP were good, and so you helped to fund those leadership in order for them.
Yes, because I don't look up by the party, I look by the leader. If there's a good leader, because you have to have a good leader for lead it. And at the time, Portia Simpson was good.
So at what point did you realize that your funding was a mistake?
I wouldn't say it's a mistake, because Portia came and she did her best to help the people. When I realized it was a mistake, it was when Peter Phillips came into power now, and then we understand the corruption behind him, and then we start to investigate and we find out, say, what wait, and Marcus Garvey come with the PPP first, and then the Democratic Party with the Roman Catholic try to kill off for Marcus Garvey, then they went and funded and put in now the PNP party, and then Norman Manley and Buster Manley, who's two brothers, who themselves cousin, but we'll get to that story there. Then put the two of them together now, and one of Marcus Garvey second to form now the PNP party. And then after that now, Norman Manley split up with Buster Manley and go form the labor movement, which is CM2 family. And then after that now, Edward Siago now was a PNP. And when Edward Siago decided to say him lose the youth election, I saw him governor up on the JLP side. So when I look at
sorry about that. What is the chance of the UIC beating these two other political parties?
All right, the chances are very good, but it is very slim, because here we beat UIC now. The same thing I'm just tell Mr. Patterson is the funding. And if you go up on Google now, because you have a thing called,
are you saying that we don't have enough money to buy votes? Well, not you.
No, not right now. But what UIC got now as lead,
because
now,
that is a mad now, buying votes in Jamaica now, which tarnishes the whole democratic process.
Yeah, but you what happen now? Buying vote is a thing worldwide. Yes, but it's not only buying vote, you know. But yeah, what UIC got as an edge over them got the money, and them got the stigmatization of PMP and Labour thing. UIC got a thing called freshness now. If you have a computer right now, go and look at it, because the last time I checked UIC algorithm, UIC was leading worldwide with algorithm. PNP is behind UIC, and Andrew Wallace is dead last because they lose favor with the crowd, because a digital
well, I would agree.
Google,
I would agree with that. The government right now is slipping.
Yeah,
slipping fast. Maybe grab on that. Understand? If I forgot come up with, you're saying fresh. If I forget some fresh idea to grab the people them, because the current government is, and of course, the People's National Party as they put it.
All right,
really.
All right, yeah, we're going now, and I will tell UIC this, and I tell Mr. Patterson, because I have nothing but love for Mr. Patterson. Me and him talk about several occasions, but if Mr. Patterson want to win the election, or any others of people now, the only thing them have to do is come and start to endorse a thing called sovereign identification card, because it is already with the United Nations, it is already with the World Court. The sovereign documents now, once you have that, you do not pay tax. All I know, you do not pay tax in no country. And different from that now, the hidden tax now, you can go into that as a sovereign entity, because underneath the United Nations ILO, my Rasta friend up there said know what I'm talking to, but you don't know nothing about this. So you're a learner to it. I tell Mr. Patterson while. Underneath the United Nations ILO and the United Nations UNDRIP.
Well, Ele, I have to take a slight break, attend to my children. So I don't just want to get up and leave, so that is the point I'm making. I have to
Thank you.
break for a
Yeah, family value, man. We have to respect family value, and that is what enough man do have nowadays.
Thank you very much.
But they can turn
Hold
phone
on,
and go and listen to
Mr.
the
Mr.
background.
Lewis, hold on
I
a
can
second.
come back in, but may I take off 5 minutes?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but
No
let me
problem.
just close out. No, you can't go on, but let me just close off because we have a large audience now.
All right.
So you see, once if you the fund that is allocated, that is open to you people now, is a thing we call sovereign funding. It every government dip in and win election and do all kind of thing with the sovereign funding. What the people them don't know. My Rasta friend up there is supposed to know about the sovereign funding. You can link the United Nations, and if I'm telling any lie, you can sue me.
May I ask you a question?
What?
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You seem to have a lot of faith and confidence in the United Nations. Are you saying that the United Nations is working in the best interest of the Jamaican people?
No, the United Nations right now is not working in the best interest of nobody in the world because they have been captivated. But like what my friend up on top there said now, the people that is in the United Nations is not the United Nations. So the laws and the bylaws of the United Nations, if them for breach it, punishment is by death or if the final hanging. The Constitution of Jamaica and of the world of any country, for breach the Constitution, the punishment is death or if the final hanging. Google it right now. But what is going on now? You people have never seen the Constitution from the barn. My leader, you might see it, but the police them hide it from the police them, so the police them go to the road every day and don't know so they breach the Constitution. The other political members
question.
Constitution.
Hold on, one question. Which constitution are you talking about? The Jamaican Constitution?
No, it's not a Jamaican Constitution. It's the British Constitution. It was written in 1961.
No, I just want to clarify. You're talking about not the UN document. You're talking about the piece of paper. This one here. You're talking about this.
Yes, the
right.
whole 100 page of
right.
blank
You're
page of
talking about what they call the Jamaican Constitution, the order and code.
Yes, yes, my friend. As I told you, it's not a Jamaican Constitution.
I know. I just want to. It's for the benefit of our listeners so that they can kind of follow the conversation.
Yes,
so you're talking about
that Constitution, that piece of paper there, no, my friend.
Mr. Lewis.
Yeah.
For the benefit of an easy conversation, allow me to be the host. So what you're talking about is the document, the Order in Council document, which was signed off on by the PNP and GLP in concert with the British Crown to say this shall be the governing document for Jamaica. That's what you're talking about.
Yes.
And what are you saying is good or bad about it?
There is there's a good thing about it, because at the end of the day, it make the people them know them rights that have been trampled upon for over now 60 odd years. You understand? Because the people them doesn't get the Constitution in the school because them took a thing called civics out of the school. So when everyone from basic school to primary school and to college that know the Constitution, no one probably 99% of the country doesn't know the Constitution. So the politician them can always breach the Constitution and the people them don't know. Because Marcus Garvey said, the people shall perish because of lack of knowledge. So even the election the other day, what the Prime Minister keep on skipping, it is unconstitutionally. The vaccine what them force on people is unconstitutionally. The mass what them push on the people for benefit Bill Gates them New World Order. It is unconstitutionally.
Okay.
So people man should go to prison. Wow. That's why when they look why, hold on, me just come to the thing now. I'm going to see where they go. With the police them not getting good pay, it's unconstitutional because the Constitution states that every man must get a fair pay that can take care of them family at least for a month. It is in the Constitution. Go look at it now, you'll see it. And this is the country that police.
What is bad about the Constitution? You said those are some good points. You're saying these are good things about the Constitution. I'm not sure those are quite accurate, but what are the bad things now about the Constitution?
The bad thing about the Constitution now is that it is not we the people Constitution. It is the colonial Constitution that is put up on us. That's why 9 years ago we came out with the Nyankepong Maroon sovereign global people constitution. I will launch it at the National Hero Circle, and we now have over 25 offices worldwide.
Okay.
You understand? I will submit it to the UN.
Quick one. How many Maroons there are? Is it a number of different Maroons, or is it Maroons are Maroons? What is the? You keep saying Nyankopong. What's the difference between that and other Maroons?
No, the difference is now, you know, the colonial system now registered and licensed Accompong, Motown, and Charlestown as the 4 British colonial Maroon settlement. Well, anytime somebody like yourself here and the leader up there, so because he's a leader, me hear him talk. Them send them time they for kill you know. But after now, them find out say that can't work. Them register a thing called PMP and JLP now, and then now in the Morant Bay Rebellion now, them license that thing called the Night's Watchman. Then after that, they call them Brown Suit, then they call them Red Team, and then they call them Police. And switch it from the governors and the people there. So now them have them people there now as a new Maroon now, because Maroon now is the color of one complexion, the epidermis. So everyone here says a Maroon, but them trick you and tell us you have black people underneath a thing called the Rosicrucian in 16th century with Pope Constantine, and then beat your grandmother or your grandfather for calling themselves Maroon. Because if you remember, you know, when we were, I don't know if you're old like me, but me are 50 now. When we were looking picking it, the hell out as I can remember, where granny used to say, dirty copper color boy, go wash your foot and go your bed, and mama lick you with a piece of ticker. But granny never used to say and never used to say black. So none of us here is black, my friend. Black is the color of sin. So your color is maroon. And if you don't go on for your phone now and type in maroon complexion, and you will hear tell us said it is a darkish, brownish, reddish color. You are the red part of the maroon. My friend over there says the dark part, and I'm the kind of red part when I get mad. So our epidermis is maroon, so the whole island is maroon. And then when the first treaty was signed, not even treaty, the first peace treaty, hold on, make a lock off now. Please,
you have to allow our ears to eat corn. Mr. Diagler.
All right, my apology. Let me just don't know with the maroon thing.
Mr. Diagler, you have been very patient and listening. Do you have any thoughts on anything you have heard so far?
Well,
You're raising a point earlier on, which was about the unions, which I think was critical. Yes. And I want you to just kind of wrap up that point for our audience, like really drill down on what you were trying to tell us. What you're indicating something critical to us. Go ahead.
Well, the trade union movement is not effectively representing the working class of this country and the public sector workers. When the teachers were on strike last week, I was out there, I videotaped them speaking, and some of the teachers were saying that the JTA, Jamaica Teachers Association, did not really represent them. They represented the principals, because whenever there's a wage agreement or a salary agreement, the principals get more money than they do. And when there was the meeting recently on Sunday, I think it was, when they made a decision that they were going to sign the agreement with the government, the head of the JTA didn't sign, and she left, and nobody has really questioned her to find out what is really going on behind the scenes where the union is concerned and where the wage negotiation is concerned. So that is one indication of serious challenges and turmoil that is going on within the unions. And I believe that we need to encourage the workers in these unions to stand up, to challenge the leadership, to come up with a program and to say, this is what we want, and have a democratic union where you can have elections and so on. If we don't have that, then the union leadership is aligned with the political parties and with the government, and things will continue as it is. So that is one point that needs to be made.
Here's my challenge, Lloyd. Workers were encouraged to form unions as a way of protecting workers' rights. If we're at the place now where unions themselves are a problem, then the worker is in serious problems here.
Well, our job is to encourage the workers, to let them know that
who is our job? Who's our job?
People like yourself, people like me,
encourage the workers.
Encourage workers to challenge the leadership in these unions, right?
But unions are made up of workers.
And the most important thing is to have congresses, to have elections, and to decide who is going to rule over.
Lloyd, what I'm saying is unions came out of the struggle to defend and protect worker rights. They, more than anybody else, understand the importance of democracy, discussing and voting on issues, having effective representation.
Yeah, but the union leadership is corrupted, and that is the problem.
But it means that the charter of those unions, the documents that govern their operations, either the charter or the constitution was severely flawed, or the leadership have been allowed by the members to simply disregard their charter or constitution. And if the membership have allowed that, why has the membership decided to abdicate their responsibility of holding their union leaders accountable by electing and removing leaders as their constitution would have permitted? Why is it now devolving to us to go and tell the members of the unions to go and do what they need to do to protect their rights, when unions came out of the workers' movement and the need for workers to protect their rights by way of organizing a collective body to represent them?
Well, you see, we have a class system in this country, we have a class system in the world. And once you have a class structure where you have people at the top and people at the bottom, those at the top get benefits, they have more power, and in the long run, they rule on behalf first, then rule on behalf of the workers or give them a little pittance down the road. So workers, like in the political system, there's lack of education. You go to primary school, you go to high school, you go to university, and there's deficiency, intellectual, academic deficiency in what is taught. For example, they're now talking about, after so many years, they've never tried to teach anything about Marcus Garvey. And now they're trying to teach something about Marcus Garvey.
No,
in other words, by not teaching anything about Marcus Garvey, it is a way of not educating the students that they have a right to protest on whether it's racism or class.
What they're going to teach, about Marcus Garvey is going to be superficial.
Well,
it's going to be superficial, and it's going to everything that our government does. Anything. I see people cheering right now because the Prime Minister has found a new little carrot he can come and offer by talking about making it free up to level 4 in the Heart Trust program. They do these things all the time. They give us little tokens, little symbolic gestures, but they're never going to solve the real problem. For example, in our school system, no matter what we do, if we're not dealing with our children from basic school and private and primary school getting the kind of education that they need to get, then no amount of addition onto the secondary school and post-secondary programs is going to solve the problem, because you're still ending up with the largest cohort of your student population coming out with substandard skills. So they're not addressing the real core problems. For example, if you're not paying teachers well, if your teachers are demoralized, if your teachers are unable to focus in the classroom, if the students that are coming to school are distracted by the poor quality of life at home and their parents struggling and suffering to make ends meet and not being able to be parents to their children, it doesn't matter how many more programs you add on to either end and how many more labels you give it or names you call it or bits of dollars you sprinkle around it. The core problems remain, and the situation is only going to get worse, which is what.
Yeah, but if I were to interpret what it is that you're saying, is that there's no possibility of change. And because the system is oppressive, because there are deficiencies, because when they introduce something, it doesn't really address the matter, then if we look at it like that, then nothing will change. What we will do...
I'm not, hold on. I am not saying that. No, hold on. Let me correct it here. No, hold on. I am not saying there's no reason I would be here as the UIC president if I believe nothing can change. What I'm saying is the source of the change. We keep tinkering around. Okay, back up a second.
Yeah, but the people need to stand up. That is the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
We have to encourage the people. It's just like Mr. Bennett, who took off his clothes and went to the top of the transport center or went into the streets. Unless the leadership, the alternative leadership movement is willing to articulate the problems, the challenges, the contradictions, and what needs to be done, then nothing is going to change. I could say, well, we need a revolution tomorrow, but nobody's going to laugh at me because we're not in a position to have a revolution. So if you want to get to a revolution one day, you have to be able to educate people where it is possible to reach them. You know, there was Sam Sharp in 1831 who decided that he was going to overthrow slavery. And he organized the slaves. He couldn't just say, well, let's overthrow slavery. He had to go out there and patiently organize them and try to make a revolution. The revolution didn't succeed, but today we honor we honor Sam Sharp as a national hero. And we have to respect the sacrifice, the self-sacrifice that he made. And so therefore, if you're an organization today, a political party or whatever it is, you have to be prepared to stand up to the system, to be able to organize the people, and to be able to critically analyze the deficiencies in the reformism that the powers that be implement in order to pacify the people. Again, as I said earlier, we talk about the debate that is going on in the parliament.
Lloyd, hold on a second. I'm losing you. Pause a second. I'm trying, let's not just jump. I was trying to understand what you're saying earlier. So you said something to the effect that nothing will change based on the argument I was postulating, and I wanted to understand that carefully. Are you saying that the approach that we ought to take is one where we encourage the people to do something? What are you saying? What do you want us to encourage the people to do?
Well, for example, I believe that the kind of democratic system that we have, right? We don't have direct democracy. We have a democracy where we elect representatives, and it's 5 years before they come back to us for a vote. We need direct democracy. So I am an advocate in the communities, for example, for community councils to be set up, where the people elect each other, they come together, they discuss what is going on in the community, and they say, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. And they can speak directly to the political leadership of the country and say, this is what, because if you don't have this, hold on, let me just finish. If you don't have the people speaking collectively, then what you're going to have is the politicians speaking on behalf of the people, and then they are going to be skimming and scamming over what the real issues are. But the people themselves know what the issues are. So we need a kind of democracy, direct democracy, where the people can say, well, this is what I want, that is what I want.
So let's get into it practically now. So what you're saying, the people must form community councils. The people do that on their own, or does somebody come and do it for them?
Well, if you support it, but if I have a meeting, they put me on the Gleaner, or they put me in the Observer, or they put me on a television station, I'm not afraid to say that is what my position is. So
I'm trying to understand the solution. So,
on behalf of the people, these are the things you must advocate for.
Who must advocate for?
If you are the UIC, aren't you? you're seeking an
No,
election.
I can tell you. Well, I can tell you what we're advocating for.
You are seeking to be elected in the next election. So therefore, you have to, you can't just be like PNP and JLP. You have to be advocating for something far more radical than the political system that exists.
So we are, well, I know what we're advocating. I'm just trying to understand what you're advocating. So you said we should have community councils formed, and I was asking you who will form those. So you're saying
the people will form it. The people themselves. You can go there and you can say, well, form a community council. You give them an idea so what the community council is, how it's done, etc., and get the people to form their own council so that they can sit down, discuss the problem, discuss
let me tell you the UIC's approach. Let me tell you
discuss the economic and discuss the national security issues that are in their community.
All right, I got it. I understand. Let me tell you the UIC's approach, just for clarity here. So the UIC's approach says it's very, very simple. We're going to first of all begin by recognizing that each of us are sovereign individuals. That's the beginning process. So our fundamental belief begins with you, Lloyd Aguilar, and Joseph Patterson, and every other member of the Jamaican society are sovereign entities, which means neither of us have more rights than any one of us. That's the beginning. We're going to write a constitution that says that we are going to elect some people to govern in a particular way, in a way that will respect our individual sovereignty, the right to our life, the right to our liberty, and the right to our property. Okay? We're going to elect a president directly as our chief executive officer. So everybody in the country will have will vote for who they wish to be the president. They're going to elect 3 vice presidents, 1 from each of the 3 counties, independent of the president. The president will have 2 running mates, a GenSec and a Treasury Secretary. The people in each parish will elect their senators, 14 senators, and the communities will elect one of their number as their community representative to sit in the Congress. What we have done by this model is to ensure that the people are directly participating in their electoral process, but we have done one more thing to protect their rights. No big money at all is allowed in the election. Every single candidate is 100% publicly funded. The candidate has to demonstrate that they can actually represent people, so they have to meet minimum standard requirement. We will not allow a member of parliament to also be a minister. The president in council will nominate a minister of
All right, can I speak now? Because you've gone. Allow me now, because then you're going to dominate. You're going to dominate the discussion, and I'm going to say what I have to say.
My point now.
As the host, you have the right to interrupt me. I don't have the right to interrupt you.
Let me finish my point.
All right, finish.
Yeah. So we're now going to have subject matter experts, whereby instead of having a MP being a minister and a minister being an MP, the 2 shall be 2 different people. Your ministers must be qualified and competent subject matter experts. They must be nominated by the core executive of the president and the 3 vice presidents. And the Senate would publicly vet them to see if they are qualified and competent to serve. And then the House of Representatives will vote yes or no for them to take office.
All right.
This is going to solve.
It sounds very much like what exists currently. It doesn't sound any different.
Listen carefully. If you listen, you will learn. Listen carefully. Right? So one fundamental difference from what the current system has now, since you're speaking of that, your ministers of government and your executive branch of government is totally separate from your legislative branch. What does this mean? All of your legislators, all of these persons elected at the community level and at the Senate level will not have access to taxpayers' money to do anything. Their job will be to...
Somebody will have access to taxpayers' money though. Somebody will have it though. When you collect when you collect the
They will.
people's money, somebody is going to have it
Lloyd,
down the road.
Lloyd,
Somebody's going to have it. Who's going to have it?
if you will allow
And
me,
you
I will.
have it. No, but I mean, you're not giving me, this is not a balanced discussion. You are the host, and so you will talk as long as you want. And when I speak, you interrupt me because you have an agenda and you want to make sure that your agenda dominates the discussion. So it is not a balanced discussion that we're having. So I am saying to you that what you are saying and what you're proposing sounds very much like what exists in the current political administrative structure right now. What I am advocating is that the people need to stand up for their rights. The people need to have direct democracy in the work, in the working, in the community, and even in the parliament. Bring the people into the parliament and let them say, boy, Mr. Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, me not agree with what you do. Because they have their ways and means, including the media, to silence people, and we don't hear the voice of the people. So when you are, playing around with how we're going to structure, we're going to have a president, or we're going to have 3 vice, that is really not the issue. You need to go directly to the of democracy which exists in the country, and how we're going to address it, and how we're going to have direct democracy so that the people can speak on their own behalf, and then you, PNP, JLP, whoever it is, will have to respect them and respect their right to give their version of what it is that they want.
Thank you, sir. So the idea of a direct democracy is not new, and it's an idea you can explore as much as you want. The reality is somebody has to elect somebody to do something. Whether you do it in a community, or you do it in a Congress, or you do it in an executive chamber, somebody has to elect somebody to do something. So it's all about governance. The UIC's model of governance begins with you as an individual having your rights protected. The UIC is ensuring that we understand separation of powers. Your executive branch having the responsibility of policy and implementation, and your legislative branch having responsibility for laws and oversight.
What about the trade unions? What about the trade unions?
What about the trade unions?
What about the trade union? Because the trade unions represent workers, and workers' rights and interests are not being articulated and being discussed publicly. So democracy in the workplace as well, so that we have a really democratic union, that we can hear what it is that the workers want.
Lloyd, you can use the word democracy over and over. It doesn't mean you're getting the end results you want. For example, the unions right now are supposed to be the most democratic organization.
But they're not.
Yeah, but that's the whole point I'm making. That's the whole point I'm making.
That's the point I've made.
So your proposal of a particular governance model is quite fine. There are many different governance models in the world, a number of governance models. The UIC has taken the time to develop a governance model that we propose and we stand behind. I believe it's a solid model if you listen to it carefully and understand it. You believe what you're advocating is a solid model, and I can respect that. That's your right. Our model is going to ensure that the rights of the Jamaican people are fully protected by having the checks and balances that I've talked about for some years now.
Yes. You're not addressing mine. That's the difference.
I didn't hear that.
I'm saying that I can address the shortcomings of what it is that you're proposing, or the positives of what you're proposing, but you're not addressing either the positives or the shortcomings of what it is that I am saying.
Well, I can tell you
direct democracy, whether you have to elect or not. The point is that if you elect based upon the fact that you're a worker and your voice needs to be heard, you need to be organized, and we need to respect that. The same thing in the community. And we're seeing that the politicians know how to play games,
direct democracy,
communities, and we have to stop that. We have to end that kind of political system in Jamaica.
Yeah, we are on the same side in terms of being 100% opposed to corruption in all its forms. Your
direct democracy now. Democracy is what I'm talking about.
No, you're talking about direct democracy. I'm talking about a non-partisan constitutional republic. Those are two different views. Your view is fine. It's what you want.
Partisan republic, then why you going to ban political parties?
No,
because
but
it has to be based upon political parties.
hold on.
If you have a republic and a constitution, etc., my party may say, well, I don't like that constitution. That constitution is unconstitutional. It needs to be changed because what? UIC and Joseph Patterson designed that constitution based upon how you see things from your perspective.
Well,
if you didn't consult me, then I am going to say to you that constitution does not represent me.
And the conflict continues. We're talking about something that we have not really explained to our audience. So our conversation kind of shifted into another sphere. Now I'm prepared to have a more complete and comprehensive discussion on systems of governance. That's not going to happen in the 1 minute we have left. But I want to hear Mr. Bennett. Go on, Mr. Bennett.
Well, this is a minute. Let me ask a different question. I don't know much about your profile. I would know more about Mr. Lloyd Aguilar. Because of his stance, he's an agitator. So we kind of know more about him. But for you, we know your since the last election. So could I know a little about you in terms of you're a family individual? Are you a political scientist, anything like that?
Sure.
If it's not too difficult to answer.
Ooh. Not at all. I am 52 years old this year. I was born 1971, August 2nd. I'm married to Charlotte Patterson. We met in the grade 8 and we have been friends ever since. We're married for 29 years. We have 3 children. I am a chartered public accountant. I am also a trained engineer. And I have worked in a number of establishments, chief of which has been my chairmanship of the board of UIC Credit, which is one of the largest social impact investment fund in the world. I have also served as director of finance in a government in Canada. I have led as CEO and chairman for a number of smaller companies and boards. One of them where I served as director of finance was one of the largest securities companies in Canada.
That's good enough because people will want, as a president, persons will want to know a lot about you.
Sure. And on our website, UIC Jamaica, I have a complete listing so you can go through my entire career progression and everything.
What you and Mr. Lloyd discuss, it will come down to the culture that we have as well. As I posited, as I put forward, culture one of the hardest thing to break. And it is one of the things which is keeping us back. You understand?
Yes.
It shouldn't be a one-man protest. It should be 100% firefighters protest. But the culture of fear, the culture of coercion, and unless we have individuals, strong individuals who can break the kind of culture which exists, might as well do ever start. You understand? As we said, no, Mr. Lloyd Aguilar is a strong activist.
It's
admire him a lot.
And here's the trick, Mr. Bennett. The trick is for us to figure out how to unite our effort. And I find we're more effective at dividing than we are at uniting.
True.
And we sometimes we end up fighting about a lot of issues and missing the bigger point. The bigger point we have in Jamaica right now is we have 80 years of solid corruption from 2 parties that are not working in our best interest. We have given them enough time. We have given them 80 years to demonstrate, and now we can see clearly that they're not. Now, today, Jamaica has 4 registered political parties. The UIC is the 3rd, and there's another one, I think it's called the JPP, which was formed by a group espousing Christian values. A lovely gentleman is the president of that political party. I haven't heard much about them at all, but we're here. The UIC is offering Jamaica a clear vision and path for a new Jamaica that is built on the premise that all of us are sovereign and must be treated as such by our government. So, for example, if our system was in place, the Prime Minister could not have tried any shape or form to violate our bodily autonomy. So things like that is critical. Freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of association. And on top of that, having a system of governance that makes it almost impossible for corruption to exist. I've spent 10 years, actually more, but 10 years working very focused on building the system. I have the full support of the members of the UIC and all Jamaicans who want to see a system such as that. Now, of course, I have to educate and inform and motivate and bring people along as best as possible. But that's what the UIC stands for. Now, anybody else can form a party and espouse what they want to stand for, and that's okay. And they would advocate that, and persons will decide what they want to choose. If we have a democracy any at all, and we don't, but if we have a democracy any at all, every Jamaican will have the freedom to choose which organization they wish to join.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Patterson?
1 second. Which political party they wish to be a part of, and what agenda they want to see. Unfortunately, all the agendas we have in Jamaica are driven by money. So who has the most money gets the visibility and gets their agenda pushed forward. You can go on top of a building and cause the media to come and look at you. But when you come off of that building, those who have the money can turn off the media, and they can also turn you off. So at the end of the day, we have to find the means to come together and work against a force which is very, very powerful financially and otherwise. Go ahead, Mr.
That's your question. You just gave your background a while ago. Obviously, you're not a poor man. You're not a working-class Jamaican. You are a very wealthy, middle-class individual, at least, right? So wouldn't you admit that your class background, your wealth, etc., influences your political program? In other words, I read the UIC things from time to time, and you're very pro-capitalist. You are for capitalism. And I believe that capitalism cannot solve the problems of this country, because what capitalism does is to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. Capitalism contributes to corruption and makes corruption endemic. So this is why we need to organize the working class people of Jamaica to challenge the political system and challenge corruption, because without doing it from a class basis, then what it means is that corruption will continue forever. The capitalist ruling class, upper class, will always be looking out for their own interests, even when they pretend to be doing it on behalf of the working class. Norman and Bustamante did all of that. Them is looking out for the people, but they were very oppressive. Bustamante, for example, was after Rasta, left, right, and center, right? Norman Manley kicked out the 4 H's, the 4 radicals inside the PNP, right? They call them the 4 H's, even though, right? And on and on and on. So no matter how nice you appear and how well you come across, that, you know, you're democratic and so on, your class interest is what determines your politics in the final analysis. And I get the impression that you are a hardcore capitalist, you are for the market, and if you're hardcore capitalist and for the market, then nothing can change in this country.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lloyd. So I am what I am. Hold on, Mr. Bennett. Mr. 1 second, I'm going to come to you. I always give everybody a chance to speak. I have just been characterized a particular way by Mr. Diaghileer. We only had a minute to go. We're now 7 minutes past that. But I want to say this very clearly. I'm not going to try to tell you how much I identify with the poor and how much I love the poor to please you or anybody else. I was born in this country to a single mother. We lived in a one room, not a one-room house, one room. And I have seen all of the trappings of poverty. I have lived it fully. But that does not mean that I'm going to be a good leader or a great leader. Poverty does not make you a great person. Poverty is an experience from which you can learn or you may not learn. Similarly, wealth does not make you. You can either learn from it or you can allow it to turn you into a monster. There are wicked poor people and there are wicked rich people. And there are wicked any class of people. and they're decent, honorable, kind, gentle, caring people at every level and strata of life. So my background does not indicate my character. Character is something you form by your own choice. You form your character by deciding how you wish to live your life and what values you wish to live your life by and what principles will guide you. My principles and my values means that I'm not here for the rich man and I'm not here for the poor man. I'm here for every man. I'm here for a Jamaica where all of us are treated equally and respectfully. I'm here with the understanding that
I am here for the poor man. I am here for the poor man, not for the rich man.
Finish my
I'm here
point.
for the poor man and the rich man. I am here for the poor man.
Could you allow me to finish? And I realize
I know I'm not going to get a chance to speak anymore, so I'm just letting people know I am for the poor man.
Yeah, I can see, Mr. Lloyd, that you have an intention, but I'm going to focus on what I'm saying here. I am here for all Jamaicans, whether you are rich or poor, because you're a Jamaican.
You're for the rich, I'm for the poor.
I don't think.
Mr. Bennett, go ahead.
All right, it's basically the same point I was going to make as Mr. Patterson said. There are capitalist countries or systems which do work. But Mr. Diagela too, he is right that in that if a country or a person is ultra-capitalist, then the poor tends to suffer. So what we need to do is, it is not black and white all the time. There are gray areas as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Bennett, you're quite right. And the thing is, we have been led down a path where we take words for granted. There are words such as capitalism, communism, and socialism. Those are three clear ideologies.
Well, you have an idea. Sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Diagela say you're a capitalist.
Yes,
Easier for the poor man.
Yes.
I see myself maybe somewhere in between. So a three different individual right now. In that,
yeah.
I see
But
myself.
I want to make a very important point here, Mr. Bennett. And the point I'm making is that many persons take these terms for granted. They even think they know what they're talking about when they use these terms, when oftentimes they may not fully understand what they're talking about. So there are three ideologies going around, which we have been taught about. One of them is capitalism, which says that there's these people who have capital and their goal is to rape and oppress and suppress others. So they're called capitalists. That's the kind of connotation.
Profiteering on the market forces.
Profiteering and whatever. And if you use word like market and stuff like that in a negative connotation, then there are those who occupy the space of saying they're socialists. They want to ensure that there's equality among us. So they want to create economic outcomes that are equal for all of us. And then you have those that are in the communist class, where they even go further to say that all the means of production must be owned by the people. And then you ask yourself the question, what does it mean to be owned by the people? And eventually that means owned by the state on behalf of the people, and then they're directed. Now, all of that has a number of nuances that one has to go through. Now, when you have the last 1 minute or two left in a conversation, and you try to just score some points and make some declarations about people's character and attributes and paint them, you don't create conditions for unity. You don't create conditions for harmony. You don't create conditions for people to work together. And we have to get by that. I want to work with Mr. Lloyd Diagler. I want to work with you. I want to work with all Jamaicans. So we have to find a way to find common ground as opposed to seeking to disparage each other's character. We have been taught well by the other parties. They have done that so well. They disparage each other aggressively, and they teach us to do the same. And that's how we have learned to try to solve problems. But here's how the UIC is going to solve this problem. We are going to come together and discuss and understand and learn. And I can guarantee you, when you learn about all these different systems, you'll see that there are only two systems in the world. Only two. One system which respects your sovereignty and another system that does not. Those are the only two systems. one that will guarantee your freedom and one that will guarantee your enslavement. And the UIC comes strongly on the side of freedom.
Let me just say one quick word. Just one.
Mr. Lloyd, I am the host. No, I am the host tonight, and you have gotten a chance.
I've had enough time to speak, so
you've gotten a chance. You've gotten a chance.
You've dominated, and so therefore it is your program, so you can.
You have gotten a chance. You have gotten a chance to take us 14 minutes.
Can I just say two sentences at the beginning, at the end?
Mr. Lloyd,
I would like to work with you.
Mr. Lloyd,
I would like to work with you, but can you just slow me, man? I am saying that I would like to work with you, and but we have to have a frank discussion. If you don't have a frank discussion, you can't work together. You organize. Well, that's allow me, man. Allow me now. You organized a protest in 2021, and I participated in that thing because I supported.
Mr. Lloyd,
right?
There's a place.
Just allow me now, man.
No, hold on. No, I'm gonna
allow me to finish the sentence. Allow me to finish the sentence.
Hold on a second.
Because you don't want me to talk.
It's not like I don't want you to talk. I want you to understand that you have to be respectful.
You must be insecure about your position when you can't allow me to talk.
I have given
you're revealing your insecurity, your intellectual and political.
Mr. Lloyd, I'm going to pause you there because you think you can manipulate this conversation. You're not going to get to manipulate the conversation. No, you're not going to get to manipulate. I want you to understand the importance of being respectful. Nobody's hearing you. You're muted at the moment. You're muted at the moment, sir. Yes, you are muted. You're being rude. I mean, this is.
Yeah, you can be strong without being.
Yeah,
rude.
I mean, I think I've been very respectful to every one of you on the program.
True.
And I've allowed you all to speak, and I have no hesitation. I have no fear. I can listen to anything you have to say, but you have to be respectful, And anyways, but I want to thank you very much, sir, for your time tonight. We were having such a good conversation. We were doing so well, and nothing is wrong, with having differences of views and differences of opinion. But we must be able to talk and allow people
and to work together.
Yeah, man.
Because as you're right to say, without unity, we are not going to break the back of the current system. Yes, we are not going to have a better Jamaica. So the third party or the fourth party or anyone else, we must be united in a kind of way which has never been seen before.
Mm-hmm. We need unity so badly because the truth is, divide and conquer is what they've used against us now for all this time. For 80 years, they have used this against us. And now we have to come together and realize who the true enemy is. And our true enemy are those who are working to keep us in this system, one way or the other. So Mr. Lloyd is not my enemy, and he shouldn't be my enemy, and I'm not his enemy. We have to learn to work together. But I want to thank you again, Mr. Bennett. It was a pleasure having you on tonight. I look forward to seeing you at 22 Barbican Road, and good luck with the issue that you have right now. Keep your head on your body, stay sane, and don't be afraid to call me if you need some advice on the side. All right?
Trust me, man. It's not my problem alone. It's Jamaica's problem. You notice me not leave a flag?
It is. I try to tell you all the time. We're all in this together. Yeah, we're all in it together. All right. Take care. Have a good night, and thanks again for coming. All right. Okay, my fellow Jamaicans, thank you so much for being on the program tonight. Sorry, the last part of it didn't quite go as well as we'd like it to go. It's good when we can have spirited conversation, when we can just share together, talk together, and nothing is wrong with having different views, but we have to be able to, be cordial, and to, have a good exchange between us and listen to each other, but talking over each other and interrupting and trying to call people names and stuff like that and label people as, it's not necessary. And I'm not ashamed or afraid of who I am. I I'm the kind of person who will always defend freedom. I don't want any political system that's going to take away my right to choose or your right to choose. Don't give me the game about you're going to help poor people by taking away my rights. No. And don't give me the game that we must continue to have the rich and powerful control our politics with their money. All of them are wrong. So let's not put each other in a box about capitalists or communists or socialists. Let's look at the real issues and solve the real problem. And the real problem is a system of corruption by any name. And if you go back in history, you'll see, no matter what they call themselves, all the communist, socialist, and capitalist countries, go back and check them, massive amount of corruption. China tried communism for years, massive corruption, millions of people lost their lives. The US prides itself on being a capitalist country. It is not. It is a cronyism country that has cost the people dearly in so many ways. And then you have countries like Singapore, which is kind of an unusual combination. You know, lots of free enterprise, strong governance, anti-corrupt, safe, clean, and orderly. So let's be pragmatic. Let's not simply run out there with labels. Let's find practical, pragmatic solution that gives us a country that respects our rights, give us a clean environment, a safe environment, an orderly environment with an economy that actually works for the average men and women from the bottom up and not trickle-down economics from the top down. So let us move beyond those petty conversations and have mature, pragmatic, practical conversations about how we can move our country forward. Thanks again for being here with us tonight. Take care and all the best until next time. One Jamaica, stronger together. Good night. Blessings.